If you think that you can understand English, but when time arrives when you need to narrate your own thoughts in English, you lack that confidence, motivation, your accent, your vocabulary, your imagination, your intonation, your tone, your speech, your sentence making structures. If you lack everything at the time of speaking, but when time arrives for listening, you'll be able to understand everything completely. Now here's what you're looking for. In this video, I'll do complete breakdown of understanding the gap between understanding and speaking. I'll tell you that both of these are different skills that require different type of, work that you need to do. Let's get started with the first one. Firstly, you need to recognize that understanding English and speaking English are complete two different skills. You might understand listening, but struggle to form statements in order to speak. See, if you understand, it means you'll be able to aggregate the vocabularies. But when at times arise for you to speak that, you might lack vocabulary, you might lack sentence making structures, you might lack that proper subject-verb agreement or grammar structures. There are several things that you need to understand. So firstly, you need to understand the gap between understanding and speaking. Second one is focus on active and passive learning. See, understanding is often passive. You receive information, while speaking, it's active. You produce language. See, if you're listening, you might be listening to several things. You might be concentrating upon the speaker. You might be doing your own stuff, and at the time of listening, so it's completely passive. It's not that you're concentrating on what words are being spoken, what exact word meanings are there, what is the spelling of that word. Do you do these things? Not at all. You just listen to that. So this is a passive learning. Here you are passively aggregating the number of vocabularies that are being spoken. There's nothing more than that. When the time arrives, when you speak actively. You form sentences. You focus on vocabulary. You choose the perfect word possible for that particular statement. So it's active and passive. When you listen, it's passive. When you speak, it's active. So it requires more concentration and it will require more of your effort. It's obvious. Now, second one, focus on speaking from day one. Now you need to prioritize speaking practices. If you'll be able to understand English, it means you're already at a good level. All that you require is that getting out of that particular comfort zone that you're putting yourself inside. See, instead of writing until you know enough to speak, start practicing speaking immediately from day one. You might be telling your own stuff in English to yourself, to mirror, to people, to video recording or anything. Start speaking from day one. As you just said, that you'll be able to understand English. You listen to podcasts, you listen to people, you listen to your own teachers, and anyone would talk in front of you. But if you'll be able to understand, it's really easy for you to speak. It's that simple. See, if you'll be able to understand, it means you already have so much information about grammar, about vocabulary, accents. If you'll be able to understand, start speaking from day one. You'll commit tremendous amount of mistakes and you're supposed to do it. If you want to proceed further, you need to commit those mistakes. As soon as you're done with committing mistake, you'll be at the heights. The earlier you begin speaking, the faster your brain will get adapted to producing language. See, if you speak, it's not that you create statements and you create word structures. It's not like that. When I'm talking to you, it's not that I'm not creating the complete sentence structures. I'm not focusing on whether I'm speaking in active voice and passive voice. Am I speaking in direct speech or indirect speech? Am I choosing the perfect vocabulary for it or not? Am I using the right synonym for it or not? Am I using the right adjective or something like that? It's not like that. All that it requires you is that speak. That's it. So the earlier you'll begin speaking, the faster your brain will get adapted in producing language. Next one is speak with mistakes. It's obvious that at the time when you'll start speaking, you'll commit tremendous amount of mistakes and people might be criticizing you for that as well, and you need to accept it. But if you want not to get criticized, you can speak in a room closed. You can speak in front of your own camera. You may speak in front of your washroom as well. It doesn't matter. As long as you're speaking, the place doesn't matter. The people don't matter. So don't aim for perfection. Making mistakes is just a part of learning. So start committing mistakes and speak. If you'll be able to understand, it means you're already at a good level. Don't destroy it. If you won't be speaking, your level will continue to diminish. Okay, so just get rid of the situation. Start speaking. Now, for example, a child doesn't wait in order to get master at grammar. When you see a child 4 year, 5 year, 3 years old, it's not that he gets to understand about vocabularies, accents, intonations, speeches, your grammar lessons. There's nothing like that. They start speaking. They commit mistakes. People laugh upon that, but that's fun. Okay. Find a way to speak English every day, even for a few minutes, but do it at any cost. Now, next one is start thinking in English, not in your native language. See, why thinking in English is the key. See. Translating from your native language to English slows down your speech and adds confusion as well. You might have heard people speaking English in the way they speak Hindi. If you'll continue to translate that, you'll speak English as Hindi as well. For example, you might speak like "Kahan ja rahe ho?" Where are you going? In the same, intonation you'll be speaking. So if you start thinking in English, these intonations will change. For example, are you dancing? That's different. क्या नाच रहे हो? There's a difference between, intonations of those statements. You can observe that. But if you will translate from your native language Hindi to English, then you will fail on intonations. So start speaking from day one. Next one is train your brain to think in English. Now start thinking in simple sentences. For example, I need water. I need to do my to-do. I need to strike off my to-do list. I need to talk to people. I need to brush my teeth. I need to have a conversation with my partner or something like that. All that it requires for you to think in English. Get started with this one. Now gradually increase the complexity of your thoughts in English. Now you might choose some complex topics to think upon. For example, you might talk about life and death. You might talk about future. You might talk about AI. You might talk about Neuralink. You might talk about some famous personalities that you know about. So practice forming thoughts in English as often as possible, even for small amount, for small duration, but it should be your everyday activity. Next one is initiate your conversation. Imitate what you listen and then initiate your conversation. Listen carefully how people talk, copy their rhythms, tones, their speed, and then try to mimic it. Shadowing technique. Listen to first short audio clip or video and then copy in the same manner. This will help you a lot. Now focus on phrases, not individual words. It's not that if you'll be learning vocabularies at the time of speaking, you won't be able to recall them, because learning vocabularies are much complex than learning phrases. Native speakers use chunk of words, phrases, rather than constructing complete sentences. Okay, so example, if you need, instead of remembering the phrase how you can break it down. Instead of learning this in broken down, just remember this as one phrase. Okay, so record yourself speaking and then compare it with previous conversation that you have done just to yourself, and now you can create an immersion of language environment. You can surround yourself in English. Try to create English only environment as much as possible. Even if you're not in English speaking country, you can still do it. Now engage with English in daily life. Now start writing your shopping list in English. You can set reminders in English. You can write your notes in English. You can talk to people in English. You can listen to songs in English. You can watch movies in English. You can read books in English. There are tons of things that you can start doing from day one. Now you can join English. Okay, so you can join any English speaking community and speaking partners. You can find out. You can join any language exchange platforms or groups. If you can just start initiate any of these ideas just I've given and start thinking in English. I think that's sufficient today. That's sufficient for today. I think all of these aggregatedly will help you in enhancing your pronunciation, your fluency, and your fear of making mistakes. You'll get rid of this issue as well. Wish you a good day. See you in the next one.